So now let's take a look at how to balance a chemical equation. First of all, you will have to write the formula of each reactant and the product, which means that you will be using the symbols of elements and the formula of a compound instead of using word equations. Let's take an example. So we have H2 plus O2, which gives H2O. The reactants are hydrogen and oxygen, and the product is H2O or water. The next step will be to count the number of atoms of each element on both sides. So on the reactant side, we have 2 hydrogen atoms, and this is a hydrogen molecule, and 2 oxygen atoms as well, forming the oxygen molecule, as you can see. On the other hand, on the product side, we have 1 water molecule, which is made up of 1 oxygen atom and 2 hydrogen atoms. The oxygen atom is connected to each hydrogen atom with a chemical bond. So, in the reactant side, we have 2 hydrogen atoms and 2 oxygen atoms, while in the product side, we have 2 hydrogen atoms, however, we have only 1 oxygen atom, which means that this equation is not balanced because the number of oxygen atoms is not equal on both sides of the reaction. So what can we do? You may think of adding 1 oxygen atom to the molecule of water in the product side, and this will give H2O2. However, you can never change a chemical formula to balance the equation, because adding simply an oxygen to the H2O molecule will give a new product, which is H2O2, hydrogen peroxide, and this is a bleaching agent, and of course you can't drink this in the same way you drink water. So don't ever try to change a chemical formula in balancing the chemical equation. So let's try another way to balance this equation. One way is to add another molecule of water, so we will write H2 plus O2, and this time we have 2H2O. Let's count again the number of elements on both sides. In the reactant side, we will have 2 hydrogen atoms forming a hydrogen molecule, and we have 1 oxygen molecule which is made up of 2 oxygen atoms. On the other hand, now we have 2 water molecules in the product side, and this is a total of 4 hydrogen atoms and 2 oxygen atoms. Let's compare the numbers and check if they are equal now or not. So as you can see, the number of oxygen atoms is balanced now. However, we have 4 hydrogen atoms in the product side and only 2 hydrogen atoms in the reactant side. And thus, the hydrogen atoms needs to be balanced now. To do this, we can simply add 2 in front of the hydrogen molecule, and thus we will write 2H2 plus O2, which gives 2H2O. Let's check if it's balanced now. So as you can see in the figure, these are the 2 hydrogen molecules which are made up of 4 hydrogen atoms, and this is the oxygen molecule which is 2 oxygen atoms bonded together. And the products are 2 water molecules. Each one of them is made up of 1 oxygen atom and 2 hydrogen atoms. And thus the total number is 2 oxygen atoms and 4 hydrogen atoms, which means that this equation is finally balanced. Let's get back to the law of conservation of mass. The law of conservation of mass states that the mass of reactants should be equal to the mass of products, which means that if we start with 16 atoms of element A and 8 atoms of element B, we should end up with the same numbers. Let's examine the products of this reaction. So as you can see, we have 8 molecules of this compound, and the formula of this compound is A2B, which means that it has 2 atoms of element A and 1 atom of element B. And the total number will be 16 atoms of element A and 8 atoms of element B. And this is simply the law of conservation of mass. Let's check if this applies to the reaction which we have balanced. So we have 2 hydrogen molecules, which is a total of 4 hydrogen atoms, and 1 oxygen molecule, which means 2 oxygen atoms. On the product side, we have 2 water molecules, and every molecule of them is made up of 1 oxygen atom and 2 hydrogen atoms. And in total, on the product side, we have 2 oxygen atoms and 4 hydrogen atoms. So, as you can see, we have finished up the reaction with the same number of atoms that we have started with. However, They are rearranged in different way, and this is the chemical reaction. A chemical reaction is to start with a number of elements of the reactants and to finish up with the new products. So the law of conservation of mass states that atoms cannot be created or destroyed during a chemical reaction.